Hello, my name is Jim. Welcome to my BookTube channel about books, reading and stuff. Can you speak BookTube? In this video I would like to look at the different terms used in BookTube, the jargon. I did a video earlier about the definitive guide to BookTube, which I'll link to here, which talks about BookTube generally. Now I want to look at the different terms we use in BookTube. The obvious start would be, what is BookTube? BookTube is a segment of YouTube where people talk about books, review books. There are various segments of BookTube like AuthorTube, HorrorTube, and on other platforms we have Bookstagram, where people show pictures of their books on Instagram, or BookTok, BookTwitter, book blogs, etc. Lots of places where people talk about books, but this is BookTube, where we visually talk about books on YouTube. TBR. TBR stands for to be read. We make these lists of the books we want to read. Sometimes we do this at the beginning of the month. This month, January, I have 8 books on my TBR. And we're halfway through the month and I've read 3 of them, so that's not bad. Some prefer a pile of possibilities because many booktubers are mood readers and they don't want to stick to a rigid schedule of books. They prefer to read what books they feel like reading at the time. That's perfectly fine. Others have physical TBRs for the books they own but they haven't read yet. I also have a TBR jar, which I might pull out one of the pieces of paper to read one of the books. A wrap-up can be at the end of the month or the end of the year, where you talk about all the books you've read that month or that year. You could have a weekly wrap-up if you read a lot of books. That book is on my radar. This means it's a book I've heard a lot of other people talking about it and it sounds intriguing. Mistborn is on my radar. BookLion. Some people think bookworm might sound a bit pejorative and they like to be seen as book lions. Chunker. Tome. This is a big book, over 500 pages. It's a chunker. It's a tome. Here we also see DNF. DNF is popular in BookTube for did not finish. In Little Dorrit this is do not forget, but in BookTube terminology DNF is did not finish. It's when we start a book but we don't feel invested in the story and we just put it down and try a different book. DNFing is a very healthy thing to do. You don't have to finish a book just because you've started it. World building. This is particularly used about fantasy books, where the author creates a world for us. It's not just the physical world, it's also the politics and the culture of that world, so we can be immersed in this world created for us by the author. Haul, book haul, is very popular on BookTube.
This is a haul,
where people show all the books they bought in one shopping session or the haul they got from the library. They're usually shown on their thumbnails with a big pile of books. Canon. There's a couple of meanings of canon in BookTube. These are the prescribed books for any given genre or culture. When we talk about the Western canon, we think about books like War and Peace by Tolstoy, Hamlet by Shakespeare, the books that somebody well educated in Western literature are expected to have read. And canon is also the original source material, like Harry Potter canon are the books written by J K Rowling. There's a lot of fan fiction books written by fans, but these are not canon. Love triangle. A romantic relationship with 3 people And it's usually not a triangle, but it's usually two people interested in competing for one person. Think of Bridget Jones with Darcy and Cleaver, or Katniss with Peter and Gale. These are typical love triangles. A love triangle is what we also call a trope. A trope is a bit like a cliche, but cliche is more negative. A trope is just something you see in a lot of books. It's a similar idea, like the trope of the evil one in books like Lord of the Rings with Sauron, or Harry Potter with Voldemort. You have this evil character that's almost pure evil and doesn't have a lot of character development. Character driven and plot driven, different stories have different themes, different ideas. Some are driven by the story, some are driven by the characters. In the character-driven novel, sometimes the plot doesn't move on very quickly as the characters are developed and allowed to express themselves. Infodump, this is when the author dumps a lot of information, usually in the early chapters. This is particularly common in science fiction or fantasy, where they're trying to describe the idea, so you get into this world, but this can be quite boring if you have a big info dump at the beginning of a story. YA. YA is popular on BookTube. YA stands for young adult, although it's not really books aimed at adults, it's more books aimed at teenagers. The usual age range is 12 to 18. Popular authors in this genre are John Green and Suzanne Collins. We also have middle grade, which is below this. It's about 8 to 12, maybe something like Harry Potter. And then we have adult, which is more complex plots for adult readers. Unboxing videos. YouTubers are like cats. YouTube viewers are like cats. They like seeing people opening boxes. The cat then wants to jump in the box, but the YouTube viewer wants to see what's inside the box. So if somebody gets a box of books from a publisher or another source from Amazon maybe, and they're opening that box on camera, this is an unboxing. OTP, one true pairing. This is common in romantic books. It's the couple that you want to see together, like Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice. We also have BroTP, two male characters you want to bond in like a bromance maybe, thinking about Harry Potter and Ron Weasley. Readathon is when a group of booktubers and maybe their followers are reading the same book at the same time. POC, person of colour. POV, point of view, when we look at the point of view of a certain character. Own voices, this is when a book is written by somebody from a marginalised community or who identifies with a marginalised community about their community. So this could be an Indigenous author, it could be about somebody's sexual orientation, it could be about the group they belong to, like if they're a gypsy or something like this. Own voices, where they write their own story rather than have the traditional white male author taking their stories, describing their stories. Shelfie is this picture of your bookshelf. Here you see my bookshelf, it's invisible, so you don't see it actually. This is where I want my bookshelf to be. I'm hoping in the next month or two to have a bookshelf up there so I can do my own Shelfie or bookshelf tour. Tag videos are very popular in BookTube. It's where one booktuber creates a tag, a series of questions around a theme, and at the end of the video, or sometimes at the start of the video, they'll tag other booktubers to tackle the same questions. I did a series of alphabetic tags, like the A tag, where all the questions were to do with the letter A, like A is for America, what is the great American novel? and I have many answers for that. I don't think there's one. Arc. Arc means two things. The arc is the progress of the character, particularly in a coming-of-age novel or in a series like Game of Thrones. The arc is also ARC, which is Advanced Reader Copy. Publishers send some booktubers, advanced books so they can contribute to the hype surrounding the book when it comes out. And you can also get e-ARCs, these are electronic advanced reader copies. ARCs are also known as galleys or proofs, and it's a way of reading books before they come out to generate hypes and reviews for these books. E-ARCs often come from places like NetGalley. I also use Book Sirens. Backlisted, these are just books which are not the latest release from an author. Some booktubers just concentrate on new releases, but others look at a wide range of backlisted books as well. Victober, a group of booktubers devote October to reading Victorian literature. This is usually led by booktubers like Katie Lumsden of Books and Things and Katie Howe, and they talk about the Victorian canon. They look at writers like Charles Dickens, Elizabeth Gaskell and the Bronte sisters, for example. Lots of months have various themes in BookTube. Non-fiction, November. February tends to be Black History Month. We also have the March of the Mammoths, reading big clunkers or tomes in the month of March. And last year there was March of the Moderns, which may become May of the Moderns this year. NaNoWriMo is popular with AuthorTube. This was started before YouTube started in 1999. The idea is during the month of November, from the 1st to the 30th of November, budding authors try to write a 50,000 word novel or the first 50,000 words of a novel. And so this is about 1,667 words a day. And a lot of people participated in the last NaNoWriMo. I hope this video has been informative. If I've made mistakes or if there's other terms you want explained, you can let me know in the comments below. This will be the part 1, and from your comments I hope to make a part 2 sometime. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe below, and I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye.